Hello and welcome to Para Educators in the Classroom, or also known as Para 101. Through this course, you're going to learn to identify characteristics of autism, as well as learning new evidence-based practices, how to address problem behavior in the classroom, and how to take data effectively. We're also going to discuss different professional development resources that you guys can use as paras. But first, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Lauren Neighbors, and I am an autism resource specialist here at Project Access. Before coming to Project Access, I was a classroom teacher. My classroom was an inclusive learning environment, so I serviced students of all levels, all abilities, in one setting. Prior to that, I had my RBT certification where I worked at an ABI therapy clinic, and I saw clients in school, in home, and also in the clinic. I went to Southeast Missouri State University where I received a bachelor's degree in communication disorders, and I minored in autism studies. So Para Educators in the Classroom, or Para 101, is a comprehensive course. So this is going to be comprised of 3 different sessions. So your first session, we're going to talk about antecedent-based interventions as well as visual supports. The second session is modeling, prompting, and task analysis. And then the third session is behavior reinforcement and data collection. So you are going to watch the presentation, and then there might be some supplemental videos to watch, and then you'll complete a small mini course quiz. Once you finish all 3 sessions, then there is a skills assessment and a knowledge assessment you will complete as well. So to kick off session 1, we're going to be discussing antecedent-based interventions. So an antecedent-based intervention is an intervention that's put into place to be proactive. So the idea here is that we're going to modify or change the environment. It's something that we can control to set our students up for success. So the idea behind an antecedent-based intervention is that we are preventing behavior from happening. Oftentimes ABI, which is another name for it, is paired with functional behavior assessment and reinforcement. So if you're not familiar, there is a term called ABCs of behavior, and we will reference this later in Para 101, I think in session 3 where we discuss behavior and reinforcement, and ABC data is a type of data collection method, so we'll be also talking about it in data collection, but ABCs stand for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. So when we're talking about antecedent-based interventions, we're really focusing on that A section. So antecedent is an event, directive, or motivating operation that precedes the behavior. So it comes before the behavior. And then you have your behavior, which is anything somebody does. And then your consequence, which is your action or response that happens immediately after the behavior. So to give you an idea of what we mean by ABI, we like to point to this quote that says, "When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows and not the flower." So the idea here is we're not fixing the child and the child's behavior. We are going to fix the environment and what we control to be able to make that flower or that child succeed. So in order to appropriately identify an antecedent, you're going to have to take a little bit of data. And the way to do this is utilizing an ABC data chart, and that can look a number of different ways. So you can do an anecdotal piece of data, so you can do more of like a narrative type where you are writing what happens before the behavior and then the behavior itself and then what comes after. Or if you don't have a ton of time on your hands, which a lot of teachers don't, you could even do a checklist. So what that would look like is you write down common settings, common antecedents, behaviors, consequences, and then some notes. And then when that behavior occurs, then you can just check what happened. Or one of my favorites is a Google form where you do the same thing, but you fill out the form, submit it, and then what's really cool about this is it will turn into a Google Sheet, and then you can utilize that in an FBA if you're going to be doing an FBA, or just to have a visual representation of what this behavior is looking like. But the idea here is that we are identifying antecedents, things that are commonly occurring before the behavior, so we can modify it to essentially prevent this behavior from even happening. So before we move on to the next section, I'm going to have you complete an ABC activity, and you're going to identify the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence of each scenario.